This is my Gränsfors Bruks Wildlife Hatchet. A very cool little tool. Now, I've had this one since May last year. I worked with it a bit, and I've learned to work with it. However, I didn't always carry it with me. Before this, I had a hunter's axe, which is a bit bigger than this, I guess this much, and a bit heavier. I used that one more than this one, but I wanted something different. So eventually I got this as a birthday present, which was nice. And I started using it for a bit of wood splitting. I learned to split wood with it. I used it for whenever I wanted to carve something. But something was missing, and that was the fact that it didn't go into woods as well as I would have liked it to. So about a month ago, I had a friend of mine put it on his belt grinder and remove a lot of material. And he really reduced the edge angle. Now, he reduced it so much that it was finer than some of my knives. And I think a couple of weeks ago, I took it out here and I worked a bit on my baton. I thinned out the handle, I thinned out this part to make it into a digging stick, although I hardly ever dig out here. And I also cut a number of pieces of wood to test the edge, and of course I knew it was going to take some damage, and it has. A few chips in the blade, and because it was so thin, it also, I had the feeling that it rolled a bit. I got home, put it to a bit of a sandpaper, and put a micro bevel on it, because at that point it did not have a micro bevel. So now it's the second day testing, and I just want to see how it does, because I have been slicing wood with it, and it goes very well into wood. And if you put a bit of a slicing motion, if you want to sharpen a piece of wood and you put a bit of a slicing motion, it just tears it away. I really enjoy working with the small hatchet, and I do so very controlled, because for me, in my opinion, hatchets are more dangerous than knives, especially if you keep them sharp enough and you don't really watch what you're doing. A moment when you're not paying attention could result in a serious injury. So my advice, and I am no expert in working with hatchets, but my advice would be always pay attention and position yourself in such a way that if the axe or hatchet deflects from that piece of wood you're working on, it will go somewhere else, not in you, in the ground, in another piece of wood, or somewhere. So they say the longer the axe, the safer it is. That is true, but also when you're using a full-size axe, it might be a good idea to kneel if you can. It's quite of a tool, I must say. Initially, I thought about removing this coating and maybe putting some ridges on it, but if I don't use gloves, which I will not, it stays in my hand fairly well. I did have a bit of paracord right here, but that just thickens it too much and it becomes a bit uncomfortable. And so far, there's no damage. More damage on the axe head. I did chip it a few times, even with the old edge. I took those out, and now it has a very nice, very, very sharp edge. So I'll see how it takes today's session. This wood is a bit rotten. I didn't expect that. Well, there were some signs of it, but I have a few pieces that might not be so rotten. And what I wanted to do with this axe was have it so that it really bites very well into softer woods, pine, willow, but it can handle a bit of hardwood contact. This board right here, I think this is oak, very dry, and it's going to contact it because you need a working surface. So what I also like about working with a hatchet, even if you don't read up on it, how you should work with it, which I do recommend you do, you can watch videos on YouTube, which I did, and I must admit I learned far more from videos on YouTube than material that I found to read. For me, it was always easier to see how somebody does something and then try it out for myself. But if you want to work with something like this, it'll guide you. It'll tell you how to do things. Because if you keep trying to take small chunks of wood out and hold it by the end, it'll tire your hand much more. Instead, you can just grab it by the head and let the axe, the hatchet, do the work for you. You know, like this, there is very little effort for me. I just raise the hatchet and I let it go. And if I'm not going anywhere, as in this case, I can take a harder swing. That's the nice thing about tools. If they're very well built, they will teach you. I guess that's the best way of saying it, you know? Tools can teach you how they want to be worked with. Has a lot of weight, and this wood, I mean, it has a lot of weight behind it. It has a lot of kick behind it, and this wood is not the hardest of woods. It's the same wood as my baton, but this one is not as rotten, so I'm gonna have to find a piece that is not as rotten. Right, let me just have a few more goes. It is fun to work with. This is not dry wood. It's still has some moisture in it. So, not the best wood for feather sticking, but it's nice practice. Do I have a harder piece of wood around here? Well, I could try this piece of dogwood. Now this was very dry. It stayed in between the leaves, and now you can see the wet spots on it. So let me get rid of this tip. What I want from my axe edge is, like I said, for it to be able to bite into softer woods, but also that I can do something like this without really being very concerned. So I do want it a bit overbuilt. My hands are very cold, but right now I can't feel that the edge is bent to one side or another. And if I can just find a dry wood chip, I can't feel any chips in it, which is good. And it does bite the way I would like it to bite into wood. It does not take hairs. I can feel it catching skin. But okay, with the corners I can still take off hairs. But that's not the point. You can't always... I'm guessing if I were to put this on a strop, I would get a shaving sharp edge back in no time. So let's see. I did split this piece of wood using my SE5. I got up to here. And then I left it over here, but you can see fairly dry in here. I really like dogwood for testing knives on it. The rotten parts fairly easy on the edge. Right. Nice. I can't feel anything, so I guess that's a good sign so far. I will keep working with it, and then I have to actually clean it up to see what it'll do. But no, can't feel any chips. That's good. And here's what I'm saying. It's very little use to try and grab it here and control cut. You know, I mean, sure you can sometimes aim your hits very well, but it'll just take a lot of effort. So sometimes small hits, a number of more small hits will be better. I am not an expert, and working with the hatchet, so don't take this as a tutorial. I'm still learning, but it is a lot of fun. And like I said, in my opinion, working with a knife can be much safer than working with a hatchet, especially if you don't really, if you don't really know how to position yourself. In this case, you can see however I hit, I'm gonna hit this board, no way it's gonna get anywhere near me. Well, I guess my camera said enough. So I'm gonna take that cue and leave you. But I think I'm happy with it so far. I really think I'm happy with how it does so far. Pretty cool little tool, huh? So I did split a few more pieces of wood, and I chopped a few more pieces of wood. And then I cleaned it up. I've seen a while ago people were using WD-40 to clean up blades in the woods and also lubricate knives with which they would split wood. And I don't know how many of you know Blunt Truth for You, and I took his advice and I was actually doing it, but I just realized it when he said it. Best thing to clean off sap from your blade, or help it lubricate it if you feel like it's getting jammed or something, is spit. Just spit on it. And that's what I did. I cleaned it up via spit. In my opinion, the the thing that hurts an edge most is chopping. If you're slicing abrasive material, that will wear out the edge. But batoning or splitting will not damage an edge as much, only the initial hit. So if you're splitting with a hatchet or with an axe, yes, that initial hit will damage the edge. If you're removing stock like this, you're always hitting the edge on a piece of wood. But since you're hitting it in this direction, in a 45-degree angle, it's not as aggressive. When you're hitting it like this, in a 90-degree angle, you might actually really dull the edge, and you will dull it much faster. So when you chop like this, it's going to dull the edge much faster. I have looked at the edge in the remaining sunlight, and I do see a small dull spot here. I will not worry about that as much. I'll just try to see if I can strop it, and I do have my on-the-go sharpening kit, which I keep with me. I seldom forget this at home. I did forget this last time I took this axe, and I really needed it then. Now I don't really need it. This is just my curiosity. Last time I needed it because I did damage the edge. And small strop. I'm not gonna put the DC4 on it, and I'm just gonna strop it a few times. And see if I can shave with it. It may be possible. Usually when I use knives, I use very few knives for chopping. My SE4, my Bravo one, my Boreal, decent handles, and you can really chop with them, but they're not choppers, so I'll use them whenever I need to take a walking stick or something. My Honglas and my cold steel cookery machete, I use those more for chopping because that's what they are. They do have very steep edges on them compared to this one. Absolutely. I have to show you this. I don't know if you're going to see it very well. Let me try to get my sleeve up. And will it focus? Not sure. I did push a bit more than necessary, but it is a hatchet. It's kind of hard to control in that weird angle, but it grabs hair immediately. It wasn't an awful lot that I did. What I did on camera, plus another time that. So it wasn't a huge amount of work. 20 minutes of chopping wood and splitting. What I think is cool. This is nothing extraordinary. I think it was to be expected, but it's really cool that it happened like this. And compared to the last time, let me see if I can show you. Now, I have the micro bevel somewhere here. Okay, this is what, about 20 degrees per side? I mean, this would be 90, 45, right? 20, 25, I would say. It's already catching. Last time, it was like this. And it got some damage. Now it's a bit higher. No damage, and I'm happy with the way it bites into wood. I could probably reduce this edge angle and test a few more times and be happy with it also like that. But as it stands right now, I'm happy with how it bites into wood. Of course, that wood was a bit rotten, but I also tested it on my baton, which wasn't. And the dogwood was also rotten a bit, but the dry parts told me what I needed to know. I will have to test it on willow, because that's my main carving material. I really like carving out of willow. It's such a nice wood to work with. Bow drill kits, spoons, anything you want to carve, and it's plentiful. You can find it anywhere. So this is the main purpose. I wanted this hatchet like this to help me out while carving. I don't really consider taking this out in the woods all the time, but whenever I'm at a cabin with time to spare, carving is a nice activity. I'm not the best at it, but I really enjoy it. So, I hope you liked this video. Pretty much no fuss tool. I did consider, like I said, putting some grooves on it, or everything I did to this. I did put another coat of linseed oil on the handle, although I don't think it was necessary. And as a last commentary, when I did get this hatchet, and this is the only wildlife hatchet I've worked with, and I got it brand new, it was lopsided. This side had a shallower edge angle than this side. On this side it was a bit steeper. So no, the other way around. Sorry, because it was set up that right now, the other way around. The way I said it first, it was set up so that a right-handed person would work with it very well. And I am a right-handed person, so for me it was okay. But yes, this side was a bit steeper. I don't know why I confused that, but my friend who modified it pretty much held it as symmetrical as possible, so it is in the middle. The same amount of steel on both sides of the edge. So right now, also a left-handed person would feel this just as I do. Having a lopsided hatchet might be good if you're a right-handed carver and all you care is removing stock. You would have to angle it much less to get the stock off, and you would have more material backing up your edge. However, you would not be able to get fine curls, since it would always curve them, you know. It will curl the wood too much and probably break off. Plus, if you were to give it to a left-handed person, they would have to tilt the axe much more so that it would get a bite. That was the case for this one. I don't know if that's a standard. With my hunter's axe, that was not the case. I also got that one brand new, and it was not the case with that one. That one was not lopsided. Same edge angle on both sides. That was just something quick I wanted to say, and I guess I don't know how I got mixed up with what's left and what's right. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about the Wildlife Hatchet, feel free to ask. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. Like I said, I have used the tool, but I'm not an expert at axes and hatchets. I do enjoy it. Hope you also enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I wish you a great day.